Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Saving the Republic. Today we're going to be talking about the possibility of the cure being worse than the disease, what's going on in North Korea, and has Nancy Pelosi seemed to have gotten crazier. This is episode 4.
So our first topic is on Kim Jong Un. He's sounds like he may be close to dying or is dead. And so first off, I wanted to ask, like, what do y'all think about Kim Jong Un? Do you think do you trust the North Korea media, or what do you think about what's going on? What's been reported?
I don't think the media will say for a while if he's actually sick or if he's actually I guess about to die. But I think that if that is the case, they're gonna have to say something soon because people are gonna notice. Like, I already hadn't made an appearance in, I don't know. I want to say it was a week. I think I just saw that on Twitter, so who knows? But um, if he keeps that up, like, everybody's gonna know that they're hiding something, so they can't keep lying forever.
Yeah, I trust the North Korean media about as much as I trust CNN. So
Here you go. Well, that's actually a lot of trust. I I would trust CNN a little more than I would North Korea, and that says a lot.
I don't trust either one.
Yeah, I mean, it seems clear there's definitely something going on. There was a report about him missing like the celebration of, I think it was Kim Jong Il's birthday, so it was a big celebration and he wasn't there. Definitely seems like there's something going on. Obviously, nobody's gonna really know it, and for sure until they announce it. But it seems like he's pretty much close to dead.
I
Yeah,
would
and the
ass-
media in North Korea, I mean, they're trying to show, they're making it a priority to show that Kim Jong Un is okay. And if the media, the media is not really the media, they're the government's media in North Korea. They just report what they're told to do. And so, if they're making it such a priority, okay, we got to show them on camera. There must be something going on because if everything was okay, they'd be acting normal.
I did read on I think it was CNBC that China has sent doctors there to advise on his situation, I guess. So I thought that was interesting. Like, who knows if that actually happened, but I don't know
I
about
find it
that.
interesting that a whole country needs to have another country to come in with their doctors instead.
have
You'd
you
think
seen
out
a
of a
North Korean
population of
hospital?
well, yeah, but the government, it's Kim Jong Un.
Yeah,
You
North.
see empty towers, yet he lives in luxury. You see beat up cars, he drives the best cars there are.
Yeah, North Korea, they're really in lockstep and they're really dependent on China, and so it kind of makes sense that China would send doctors over there. They're both just two really terrible countries, but China's bigger, so um, yeah,
Well, China's got buddies like the WHO, the UN, people to hide what's going on there. North
Also,
Korea doesn't.
doesn't China have better things for their doctor to be doing? Like, I'm just saying, they have a pandemic that they caused. Or is it an epidemic? I'm not too
No,
sure
it's
on the
a
differences.
it's a pandemic.
pandemic,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm not
Don't
too
you
sure
don't
on
you
the
get it wrong,
differences.
Nate. Don't get it wrong. It's a pandemic.
But I think they
Pandemic
have.
with 0.5% death rate. So sorry, had to say that.
I just feel like China has bigger things to be dealing with than random guy next door is sick. You know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of
Yeah,
it's a
but
pretty big deal. I mean, even a crappy country like North Korea, it's still a big deal if their head of state. And it's such a big deal because he's basically seen as a god to their people. So if he dies, then there's going to be a lot of turmoil there. So
yeah, and we hear rumors
could
and
be.
we see movies like The Interview where they talk about how the people worship Kim Jong Un, whatever, whatever. But if you actually go to North Korea, I haven't been, but I've seen plenty of documentaries, and I know that sounds, but it's just blatantly obvious that that's actually the truth. I mean, these movies, yeah, they make you laugh, they make you crack up. But am I the only one that remembers the way that North Korea reacted when Sony tried to release the interview? Am I the only one that remembers the bomb threats and all that stuff? I mean, they freaked
No,
out. And if there was no truth in that movie, why are they freaking out so much?
And it was actually a really funny movie, by the way. Just wanted to throw that in there. Like, I'm kind of mad that it didn't open in theaters like it should have. But yeah, it was pretty good.
I mean, it's on Netflix now.
I hated that they had that kind of influence. But yeah, so what do y'all think is going to happen if it turns out that Kim Jong Un actually did die, and I think his sister is like kind of next in line to take the throne. So, like, what kind of impact do you think that's going to have on like trade and just kind of international relations?
I think it depends on how he died. If it was just like of natural causes, I don't see anything changing. I don't see a single thing in that country changing. It's just going to be the next person takes over, because they're really China controlled. They really don't do anything for themselves. Because I mean, they get all their resources from China. But if he was assassinated, or I highly doubt that happened, but if he was, or if there's something deeper to it, then it's hard to say.
I have no doubt in my mind that no matter what happens to him, they're probably going to blame the U.S. for it. Just because, why not? I mean, they've pretty much made us their biggest enemy.
I mean, that's an interesting perspective. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm like halfway there with you. I mean, the U.S. has been entertaining the idea of, going in there and adjusting it, but at the same time, they are China controlled. So, I mean, if you're going to touch North Korea, you got to go for China too. But it would also make sense because in the past few years, we've been destroying China.
Yeah, I also wouldn't think that it would change, much like we saw when it was originally Kim Il-sung and then Kim Jong-il and now Kim Jong-un. I don't think that anything will change. It's the same family no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they'll probably replace him with I guess if it's a sister, whatever. It's basically just a figurehead. They don't really do anything. So yeah, I don't anticipate anything really changing.
Do y'all believe that there are 0 coronavirus cases in North Korea?
I don't.
I don't think so. But the thing is, it's actually kind of interesting. If anywhere had 0 cases, it might be North Korea, because like nobody really goes in or out. I guess you have some tourists, but probably not. Still, I don't think so.
Yeah. I highly doubt it, because I mean, ever since that American went over there and came back in a coma, nobody's been trying to go to North Korea.
Yeah, man, we could talk all day about that, but that's just kind of insane that they haven't really gotten like sanctioned more. I don't think we've really done much to them after the Otto Warmbier thing.
Well, there's really nothing. I mean, there's really nothing to do to them. They're kind of on a trade aspect. They're pretty irrelevant. They don't do anything.
They're very
without
isolated.
China, they are crippled. They have nothing. They will no longer be a country. They are just a disaster. So I mean, there's only so much to do. All we could really do is just go in there and kill their government. Other than that, the people are innocent.
Yeah, I kind of just see North Korea basically being like a sort of like a subunit of China, because they're totally dependent on them. Yeah, you can't really hurt them. Like, they already don't really have anything, so you can't really do much to them, I guess. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just. I mean, what are you going to do? There's really nothing to do except go in there and get the government, because they don't trade. I mean, they don't do anything.
All right, so let's go ahead and get on to our next topic, which is the cure worse than the disease?
So you may have seen the title, Cure Worse Than the Disease. Let's just kind of define that before we dive into it. So obviously, this is extremely obviously, the economy is pretty well shut down. Most of us are at home. We're doing this podcast over Zoom. Not much to talk about just because the economy is shut down. And so we're experiencing something where, okay, yes, the coronavirus has its effects. Yes, it's a lot stronger than the regular flu, than, a regular sickness. However, if you are not, what we're just seeing more and more evidence of this. if you are not about 60 or 70 and older, and if you don't have prior health conditions, you will be perfectly fine if you even get the virus, because we are seeing a death rate of 0.5%. In Italy, it's roughly 10%, simply because the median death age is 83 or 82. So we're at a time where, okay, there's 20 million people unemployed. 1 out of 5 suicides is due to unemployment. We're talking about all of these things that, okay, a lot of people aren't going to graduate, or I mean, they're going to graduate, but they're not going to have graduation. Proms are canceled. STAR test is canceling. It's just a giant mess. A lot of people aren't going to re-enroll in the fall to college because the financial insecurity. So what do you guys think about the concept of opening the economy back up? Because a lot of people say, oh, no. You just want everybody to die. You don't care. You're naive. You don't social distance. But what do y'all think?
I think we need to open it up pretty soon. I think that social distancing should stay in place, but to me, it's not like if you go to Walmart right now, which you can, other people are going to be there. Other people have touch the stuff. Like, you can get it from that, if you see what I mean. Like, it just seems like we can still get it doing this, and I don't think that it's going to be much more difficult to get it doing this. So I don't see the point in having everything shut down. Because
exactly. Your entire family can be home all week, and then the one person goes to Walmart to get the groceries and they come home with the virus. I mean, then you just quarantine yourself for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. I just don't see why we should have to remain on lockdown when people are still getting it. Like,
and even if all 4 of us get the virus, unless we each have, prior health conditions, the chances of us even remotely dying is not very likely. It's 0.5%. And that's including old people.
And
if
also,
you look at our generation, it's way less than that.
Also, on that, the point of doing all the social distancing and things we're doing and shutting businesses down was to flatten the curve and slow the spread. That way we don't overwhelm the healthcare systems. The curve, it still covers the same amount of people. It's just over a wider amount of time. Everyone is still going to get sick that was going to get sick. But we're making it over a longer period of time. Now that we've effectively seen the peak, there's no reason to stay closed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been saying we need to open. It's a balancing act, because you don't want to overwhelm hospital capacity, but if you stay on the course that we're doing, the economic impacts are gonna be horrible. They're already bad. We have record numbers of people on filing for unemployment. It's crazy, but if you keep this up, it's only going to get worse. Millions of people have lost their jobs, and Greg Abbott, I felt like he handled it pretty well for a while, but I think the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I don't think we've opened up fast enough. I was watching one of his press conferences, and he was talking about people that are hiring, but it's like HEB and these $12 an hour jobs or whatever, which is nice. But I think people want to get back to work, and you can do that safely. It's not a black or white. You can go back to work and still social distance.
I think Abbott's press conference on Monday, he's having another press conference on Monday. I think that's going to be very significant. I think that's going to be like, okay, hold on. Because it's just, and to get a little, I don't want to say personal, but at my church, we have to be very aware of, okay, when can we go back to having people here? And one of somebody that, a close family friend, I don't know why, my grandpa was on a call with Greg Abbott a few days ago, and on a big Zoom call with a lot of pastors, and Greg Abbott was saying that he thinks that May 3rd, you can be back at church social distancing. And I'm kind of like, okay, May 3rd, it's the 25th, and that's 8 days from now, 9 days. We are barely opening retail. I really just don't see that happening. It's just kind of hard for me to see that.
Yeah, the whole
but something else to go ahead.
The whole retail to go, I feel like that was you put a lot of emphasis on that, and I'm just like, how do you buy clothes to go? Like, you would buy it online and that at that point, but
Exactly.
like you
Why would
can't.
I? Why would I
You
go
need
and
to
wait
go
in
into the
line?
store. Yeah, you need to go into the store, see it, try it on, stuff like that. Like, as retail to go, I feel like that was way put too much emphasis on that.
I think he was more focused on the symbolism of it. You know, like, hey, we're opening it back up. I don't think anybody's like, oh man, I can go to Michael's and I can go to Marshall's and wait outside for about an hour until I get my stuff. No, I mean,
I
I
mean,
think
who's
the
even doing
symbol of
that?
it.
Like,
No,
who's
I wouldn't. Why would I do that? Why would I burn that time when I could just order it?
I mean, I haven't like driven around department stores, but like I haven't. I just can't imagine people are going to these stores and staying outside and getting their stuff that way.
And you
I
know,
don't get it.
something else that's going on with this, cure worse than disease, is extroverts need people to energize themselves. Like I'm personally a very extroverted. So whenever I'm isolated from a lot of people, I start kind of acting a little weird. I need people around me. I need the social interaction. That way, I have energy. And introverts is the complete opposite. So, for example, my sister is uber introvert. I'm very extrovert, and we're like intense right now. Like we still talk and stuff, but not to the same level we were before because she's driving me insane and I'm driving her insane. And don't even get me started on my parents. I mean, we just kind of need to look at the mental health with extroverts and introverts because I mean, there's so much more um, depth to it than all of us just stay at home for the sake of everybody. Okay, you're looking into something where this is why we titled it "Cure Worse Than Disease," because now the suicide rate's going to go up. Now depression's going to go up. Now you have families that have a very intense vibe in the house. Some families have more unity, but other families are to the point where they all want to kill each other. And I mean, you can laugh all you want, but there are some families that have some social issues that it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, I think that points to why it's so ridiculous that we ever banned people from going to state parks in the first place. That's not a situation where you're in close contact with a lot of other people where you're really close. People got to get up. They have to go outside. I mean, people have to like get a little bit of exercise. I mean, it's you literally will go crazy staying indoors for like days on end or weeks on end and
Yeah, and
months.
this is where social distancing and quarantine and all that's kind of hard to do when you have a constitution. It's because for example, I'm learning like in Mexico, what they're starting to enforce is in certain parts is only one person in the car at all times. They're gonna start doing it where there's like 1 or 2 days where you can't leave the house. They're doing stuff like that in Peru. You can't leave after 5 p.m. There's, I mean, and then in New York, De Blasio, unless I'm mistaken, De Blasio is still going to the gym. He's still leaving his house and going to the gym while the subway is still open. And their excuse is, oh, we can't handle the economic repercussion. I think the economy is pretty screwed right now anyway. So, I mean, I think you can handle it. You're already in a bad place. Cutting off the subway so that the spread stops, you'll be fine.
I mean, why should everyone have to close down their business? And like, let's say Belton, Texas, where I am, where everyone is spread apart. Why should we have to shut down every business here when New York still has the subway going? Like, they're going to infect so many more people just by that one thing being open than probably all of the businesses here.
Yeah, and we wonder, okay, why does New York have half the nation's cases? I think it went down to a third, but at one point they had half. And it's okay, the subway's still open. The mayor is still going out into public. The literally the end of February, first week of March, they were saying, "Come to Chinatown, come down here, come eat in Chinatown, come do this, come do that. Don't be scared, don't be scared. We'll beat this virus. Come out, come out."
Try a
And I
bat
mean,
soup.
yeah, exactly, literally,
I don't
like, come eat
know.
in Chinatown. I was just like, "Are you're joking? You're
I mean,
joking."
the bright side is that I think they're like on the downside of like they're kind of the new cases are decreasing each day in New
Yeah,
York, so that's good for them. I'm not sure if I agree they should close the subways because I mean if they are on the downfall of it at this point with the subways staying open. I mean the subways are kind of the lifeblood. Like that's they kind of have to get to their get to businesses and everything. It's like if we were to close down highways here, I mean, nobody would be able to get to work or anything.
Okay, but our highways are not
I'm
infested
not
with
saying
germs
yes. I'm
and
not saying
animals.
that. I'm just saying from the perspective like people have to go to work, and that's
I get the
subway is how they go to
economic
work.
I get the economic point you're making, but have you been in a New York City subway
Yeah,
Yes.
like for
I
an extended
I
period of time?
understand. Yeah, I understand, but like wear a mask, stay away from people. They can't be very crowded at this point. I mean,
They're
I don't
it,
know.
it
Maybe
depends
they
on
are.
it
I don't know.
depends on the train, but they can get pretty crowded.
I mean, and people. I mean, you've seen the pictures of New York City. The streets are empty, whatever. Okay, you can't get a cab. How am I going to get anywhere? I'm going to go take the subway. I mean, they cut off the subway,
Take a
and
bike.
the
If
curve
if
will
you're
go way further down.
if you're cutting off cab service, then cut off the subway. I mean,
Literally.
you can't say no cabs and then have a
But the thing is, there's people that rely on it, like, to go get groceries or go get whatever else they need. So, like, yeah, it would cut it a lot, but at the same time, people are relying on that for transportation.
Okay, but there are people that live in the subways. There are rats running around. I mean, you can't exaggerate this. It is
I know.
disgusting in the
I've
subway.
seen
I've been
it.
in one New York City subway. I will never do it again. It
I
is
just think
so
that
gross.
it's not a perfect solution, but I don't think there is a perfect solution for it because
Well, that's
you
true.
cut it off and people can't get groceries. I mean,
uh,
what are they going to do? Die?
so
Like,
New York pretty much
Yes, I'll die.
in New York you're never far from a convenience store or a bodega
no.
of some sort.
So I think that there's people that rely on it for transportation to get medicine, get groceries, any of that. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be pretty close anyways, maybe within walking distance, but for like, I don't know, disabled people, elderly people, people with small kids, I mean, it is kind of difficult to walk to get all of that stuff. So I just think that leaving the subways open is really all they can do right now.
Yeah, I think it just depends on your personal preference, and it comes down to the initiative of the New York people, the citizens of New York. They're just gonna have to decide. Okay, am I gonna really take the subway right now? And how the city might have done some changes to the subway. They might have gone in and cleaned it. I don't live in New York, so I wouldn't know. Um, Here to comment with us on the possibility of the cure being worse than the disease, all the way from Massachusetts, we have Matt Lewis, who is on a very good podcast called A House Divided. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, we're doing pretty well here in the quarantine.
Awesome.
A brief, yeah, you want to give us a brief bio of what A House Divided, how long you've been going, what y'all do, maybe some campus stuff that you've been doing on campus.
Yeah, so we've been doing A House Divided as a podcast since October, pretty much uploading weekly or twice a week. We're back to weekly now. And so we've just left the kind of school radio station. We're kind of just doing it on our own now that quarantine's happening, which is very nice because we're not, really restricted by anything. They want us to say, they gave us a lot of freedom, but it was good just to kind of take it, do it ourselves. And yeah, I'm involved with the College Republicans at Suffolk University in Boston as well. And we do a lot of stuff around campus. And I was studying abroad, but I'm going back next fall, and we're going to try to grow the club a lot more and get really involved on campus.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we've been talking a little bit about unemployment numbers. We've been talking a little bit about depression, suicide. We've been talking about just all these preventative measures, if they've really been beneficial or not. So what's some of the stuff that's been going on in Massachusetts that might be a little different than here in the South?
Sure.
And just kind of the stuff you've had to deal with, and if you support it.
Yeah, so I am pretty strongly in support of the measures that the government has been taking, at least here. I know the nice thing about living in a society like the United States is that we have a federalist system, which means that there are states' rights. And the nice thing is that this lockdown isn't from the federal government. So if you look at a country like France, in France, Emmanuel Macron can dictate everything that happens in France, which is fine for them. They have a small enough society where that is possible. But in the United States, we have such a varying landscape of states and what those states look like that really wouldn't work here. Like Trump sitting in the White House and just dictating what everyone needs to do across the board wouldn't be effective. So here in Massachusetts, we are the third worst state in the nation for coronavirus cases, right behind New Jersey. So it goes New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. We're about 50,000, almost 51,000 cases here. So we have a pretty substantial amount of cases, and we're definitely seeing the effects of it here in the sense that a lot of our hospitals, while not as bad as New York, we're starting to see pressure on some of our hospitals, and it's really not an ideal situation. I know that I was actually just at the hospital recently. I was getting some tests done. Don't worry, I'm fine. But the nurses at the hospital were talking about how they were starting to run out of masks. I was hearing that kind of in the background while I was there. So it is worrying here, and there is a lot of strain on the healthcare system. So I think that especially in these states, in the states around us, just because New Hampshire doesn't have a ton of cases, doesn't mean that they shouldn't be locking down, because they are so close to us, and in the Northeast especially is very condensed. So I'm definitely in favor of the governors doing what they think is right.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because like here in Texas, we may have opened up a little more than some of those states around you. I think Georgia is the one that they probably open up more than anyone. So it's great. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see if they can manage to open up without really causing another big spike. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I think it's good that there's discretion between all the states.
Yeah, and Matt, why do you think that Massachusetts specifically has such high numbers?
I think it's because overall, I'm in a pretty rural area of Massachusetts, in the southeastern section of it. Very small town, but most of Massachusetts isn't like my town. Most of Massachusetts is fairly condensed. There's a lot of small cities. There are a lot of, we have Boston, which is one of the bigger cities in the country, and we're looking at a situation where not only do we have that, but we also have Rhode Island, which has Providence, and it's condensed, and Connecticut, and also New York is a bordering state on the western border of Massachusetts. So the Northeast is such a odd dynamic of being so close together, and also having many of the nation's highest traffic airports. Boston Logan Airport was one of the airports that was still open for coming back from Europe, because we had to repatriate United States citizens. So there's a lot of aspects to why Massachusetts is number 3 in the nation. Also, we got off to a late start, so like most of the nation did. So it's not an ideal situation, but we kind of have to deal with it as it is.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think that some of the economic repercussions we're going through, and some of the you look at suicide rates, and 1 out of 5 is due to unemployment, and then you look at 20 million unemployed, and then you look at depression going up because you have very extroverted, energetic people locked up in their houses. Do you think that all of these preventative measures, given the statistics of the virus, are worth it?
I think that they are. Basically, what we're seeing right now is, at the beginning of all of this, we didn't know what this virus was. So we did what was the safe thing. We had a bunch of bad options. Basically, the least bad option was to shut down the economy and try to stop the spread of this. And the worst thing we could have done was probably just let it run rampant and act like nothing was happening. So we chose the least bad of all the bad options. And what happened with that, unfortunately, we're seeing economic damage from it. But luckily, what it has done, and what it looks like it's doing, is it's slowing down the spread of the virus. And even if the virus isn't as dangerous as we thought it was, hindsight is 2020. Like, we didn't know that at the time. And it would be a really bad idea to open prematurely, because there's no guarantee that the economy is just going to spike right back up. People are still going to be scared. I mean, consumer confidence is going to be low, regardless of whether the economy opens back up or not. And then if we look at other countries, I mean, the global economy is also not doing well. And just because the United States decides to let restaurants open again doesn't mean that it's all going to come bouncing back. And yes, there are people hurting. So the question becomes, what do we do about that? And I think that we can have a fruitful conversation about steps to help people out who are hurting right now, as far as food, because there are people who can't afford food, mortgage payments. We need to work out these problems. Maybe we need to put a hold on mortgage payments and rent payments for a while. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. I don't know what the exact solution should be, but I know that opening everything back up right now would be ill-advised.
Well, I think that's also, I mean, they're very good points. I think it's also a state's decision as well, because
Right.
some states are nearing the peak. Some states never got bad, and some states are still growing. In Texas, rents or all evictions are suspended right now. You can't get evicted.
Right.
So if you don't pay your rent or your mortgage, nothing's going to happen to you until, I think, originally they had put that into place last month, and then they said it was going to go till the end of May, I think, or the 1st of May. I'm 18. I don't pay mortgage or rent, so I don't, I'm not very in sync with that. However, I have parents that do, so I know some of the laws that, and plus, I mean, I'm just, paying attention. And so I would assume they're going to extend that. It's just have they not done that in Massachusetts? Have they not suspended evictions?
So I'm not 100% sure of what has been done in Massachusetts as far as rents and mortgages. I'm pretty sure that there are no foreclosures. I'm not sure when that ends. I think it's sometime in May or June. But there are no foreclosures right now, and I believe, are no evictions. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm 99% sure about the foreclosures. So I think that it is absolutely up to the states. Like a state like Wyoming, it never did actually close down, and I don't think it should close down, because Wyoming is so rural and spread out. I mean, they have less population than Boston, and like they're like, I don't know, 11 times the size of Massachusetts, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
could be wrong on that number, but it's a huge state with not a lot of people. So, and they haven't seen a lot of spread. And it's the same thing with the Dakotas and a lot of those middle American states that are really spread out. They don't need the same restrictions in place that New York does, that Massachusetts does, that New Jersey does, because they aren't going to have that same kind of closeness that a more densely populated state will have. So it's definitely down to the states to decide when it's safe to reopen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
earlier, earlier you said we shouldn't be just opening it up and acting like nothing ever happened. Nothing's happened, and I agree. There are some people in Texas, not surprisingly, there's gonna be some people that are saying, open it up today. I don't think we should, but I think we need to do what we can while still being smart about it. And I think ultimately the decision should be on individuals to decide and to use their common sense. I mean, there are going to be some cases where that doesn't happen, where people just cram in, and some of the protests have been kind of stupid, like people not being responsible. But I think for the most part, people here and really all over the country can probably use their best judgment and decide what's best. I think letting business owners do what they feel is best is gonna help get things going, but things aren't gonna be back to normal for a long time. So
Yeah. And I mean, it's such a hard concept to talk about, because there's so much uncertainty. There's so much, and it's so state specific. It's just such a hard topic to grasp, and it's so the point that Matt brought up about consumer the confidence in consumers. That's a very good point. And even the person more confident than anybody is still going to have a lot of uncertainty throughout the year and this time next year, just because the repercussions are going to take so long to reflect on your financials. Right now it's starting to reflect, but 6 months from now, you're going to have a lot more of a realistic approach than you will before. Like, for example, my mom, her company is perfectly fine, thank God, but it's because it hasn't reflected on the financials yet. So they're going week by week. Okay, are we going to go furlough? Are we going to go furlough? We don't know. Next week, this Friday, she was like, okay, we might have to be furloughed. And then yesterday she came from work. She's like, no, we're fine. I'll know more next Friday. And
Yeah,
that's like the 5th time I've heard that.
A very similar thing happened to me. As we were doing fine, company was doing well, and then I got a call bright Thursday as I was about to leave for work, and boom, everyone in my department was furloughed. So
yeah, it's for example, I'm a waiter at Chili's, and I hadn't been working for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden I got a text, you are officially furloughed. I was like, okay, I think I saw that coming, but they just didn't have the confidence in the financials to go full throttle furlough, because there's so much due to the uniqueness of the COVID. It takes a while to reflect.
Okay, so I do have a question. I know earlier you said you were studying abroad and were forced to return. What did your repatriation process look like?
Yeah, so I was very happy with my school and the country. Well, I wasn't as happy with what happened at Logan, um, mostly because nothing happened at Logan. I wasn't screened. My temperature wasn't taken. This was back in early March, though, so this was before we had shut down travel to Europe. So I wasn't quite at the point where we started doing all of that, but that just goes to show we got off to a very late start. My school, however, handled the situation wonderfully. Suffolk has a campus in Madrid, so I was studying there in Spain, and which Spain now is the second worst country behind the United States, and one of the worst countries as far as major countries for cases per million. So they're not doing great in Spain, but unfortunately, I was sent home, and what ended up happening was that the school ended up paying for our flights back, and telling us basically not to worry about it. They were going to get us home safe, no matter where we were in the United States, which was awesome. And I know a lot of states wouldn't, or a lot of schools wouldn't have done that. And they also gave us a refund for the housing that went unused, which I know a lot of other schools aren't doing, unfortunately.
I know here that students that were studying abroad ended up just flying back here and having to make their own way home from wherever they were.
Yeah, and there were students that get their stuff mailed back to them, so that to stop the spread. I would be so mad if I had a dorm and the university told me, okay, don't worry about coming over here to get your stuff. We'll mail it to you. No. You're not gonna touch my crap. No. That's not happening. I found that to be an extreme violation.
Agreed. I would not want, just letting a random person dig through my stuff. I've got I keep like my files there. I keep my, tax returns, things like that I don't want people seeing. Like that's none of their business. They shouldn't be digging through that.
Especially with college kids, because especially if you're living several hours away from your home, your parents aren't going to hold on to all your files. You're going to have to find a place. And if you're in a dorm, you don't have a whole lot of space. So you're going to have a certain part of your dorm where there are like extremely important documents, like social security card, all kinds of stuff, passport, all that kind of stuff that you weren't planning on having to take with you. And now your college staff, not even the government, which would be worse, but your college staff now has their fingers all over it.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I've got my passport and things in there that I use when I'm traveling, things like that. It's just, it's a violation of my privacy. I'm paying to rent that apartment. And
Exactly.
A lot of these schools aren't letting me come back to get that stuff.
Well, we're just
Matt,
out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Matt, I had a question. What do you think is kind of like the horizon? When do you think things might be able to sort of get maybe back to normal, kind of, or close to normal? Like kind of in your neck of the woods.
I mean, normal being, I mean, looking like it was before this, it's going to be a long time, especially here. So maybe in other states it might be sooner. But I know that they're talking about playing baseball games in Arizona and they're starting the MLB season there. They're talking about, I think, doing the same thing for the NHL, finishing the NHL season in Arizona as well. So I think that as far as just, I mean, sports, I think when sports return with fans in the seats, that's going to be kind of the litmus test for, okay, we're back to normal.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's going to be back to normal anytime soon. I think it'll probably be, I mean, I'm just guessing because I know better than you guys, but it's probably going to be a year or so until we see back to normal. And that doesn't mean no businesses will be open for a year, but it means it's going to be a while before these companies start to actually open things back up.
Yeah, I mean the biggest sports thing was the NFL draft, and that was that was nice, but it was a little awkward with Roger Goodell having like pumping up the fans in the background uh, on their Skypes or whatever. But yeah, sports is kind of a big thing. Yeah, so I'm hoping it gets back pretty soon, but
Yeah, and you mean to tell me that Jerry Jones in an AT&T stadium that seats 100,000 people, when the NFL starts up and the Cowboys come, you mean to tell me he's going to be like, no. Once we have 60,000 tickets sold, stop it. No, stop it right there. And seat everybody apart from each other. No. Jerry Jones is not going to take a 40% profit drop.
Let's hope it doesn't affect NFL. Let's hope by that point.
I don't think it'll affect the NFL, but it'll affect the stadium seating. It'll affect, because you're talking about like the AT&T Stadium, 100,000 people. Jerry Jones is not going to take a 40% profit hit. That is not going to happen. But that's another conversation. Skylar wanted us to talk about the draft today, but we might do that later, but not today. We might do a special on that. But unfortunately, we're pretty much out of time. Matt, are there any socials that you want to plug for A House Divided?
Yeah,
it's a great podcast that we all recommend.
Yeah, so follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AHDpod. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Matt_Lewis99. And our show comes out weekly on Fridays at 8 a.m.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to interview you, and we hope things continue to get better in Massachusetts.
All right, awesome. Thank you. It was great to talk to you guys.
You too. But unfortunately, we're out of time on this topic. However, there's never not an opportunity to talk about the DNC and Nancy Pelosi. Every time you think you're burned out on it, there's something even more stupid that happens. And so now we're going to be talking a little bit about Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, so our next topic is going to be on Nancy Pelosi and I guess the Democratic Party in general right now. So a big thing this week has been while Californians are waiting on aid and relief from the government, Nancy Pelosi went on a late night show and showed off her $25,000 fridge filled with designer ice creams. What do y'all think about that?
I mean, she is married to a very rich developer, and she is the Speaker of the House. But at the same time, why does anyone need that? Why do you need that? And it just shows her cluelessness. She could have gone to a blank wall. She could have said, hold on a second, my backdrop is probably going to trigger some people. But she didn't.
I saw the other day, this isn't about the ice cream, but she wore like toilet paper earrings to a Corona press conference. I just thought that like it's funny. Like, why would she do that? I mean, it seems so out of touch, but I guess everything she does really seems out of touch. I don't know. I just think she's crazy.
She just, surprises me more and more every day. I mean, I think she's crazy up to here, and then she does something, and it's just it just never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, I don't quite see why she went on the late night show. Like, I mean, I guess it's fine, whatever. Like, you're free to do it if you want, if you're her. But still, I think it's kind of inappropriate at this point. Like, focus.
Well, I think
there's so much that needs to be done by, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of the perspective that like the government's doing too much, but still, I mean, you're supposed to be doing stuff like go to DC, do your job, and yeah.
Well, I mean, and you can talk about like how there's some situations where the press gets you in a corner and just kind of gets you, and then there are other situations where you just totally destroyed yourself. And nobody made her stand in front of that fridge. Nobody made her show off. Why do you have like 20 tubs of ice cream when you're not even in your California residence half the time? You're usually in DC. So why did you do that to yourself? It just amazes me that she can be so stupid. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show everybody that I can relate with them while they're all filing for unemployment and are only getting essentials at the store. Let me show them that I can relate with them because I have like 5 tubs of chocolate ice cream. No, it doesn't. What kind of thought process is that? I figured that the Speaker of the House would be more intelligent.
Yeah, it was Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream, and Joe Biden also spent like $11,000 on that. So I saw this tweet. It's like Ice Cream Gate because they're apparently the DNC is very intertwined with
luxury
Jenny's
ice cream
Splendid
brands.
Ice. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked into that very much. I don't know if there's a deeper conspiracy going on with the ice cream. I think there are plenty other conspiracies that deserve more attention than that.
I mean,
and
if
Biden's
I had
made
to
millions
guess,
off of Ukraine and China, so I mean, it's
just giving them the benefit of the doubt, it is pretty good ice cream.
Oh yeah, and that's why we know how much it is. Talenti is like $5 for a little thing like that, and I only buy it like once a week, if even. She had
like if you eat that, you have to be a Democrat. Like Republicans eat Bluebell. So
I'm the furthest thing from a Democrat, and I eat Bluebell, Talenti. I do a lot of things. I also hate Whataburger, and I'm a Texan, so.
Oh my gosh, get out of the
Democrat
state.
confirmed, absolutely.
No. If anything, liberals like Whataburger a lot, so I don't want to hear it.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and kick you from the call.
No, yeah, a lot of Texans will be triggered at me, but I hate Whataburger. What was the other thing that I told you, Nate, that you got really mad at about my?
You hate Brahms too?
Yeah, no. I hate Brahms customer service. I don't hate Brahms's products. I hate the fact that I pull up to the window and they open the window and they're just staring at me, and I'm like, can I get my order?
I can't even remember the last time I went to Brahms. So I mean, that's
next thing I hear out of your mouth better not be that you hate Buc-ee's, because that's crossing the line.
I like Buc-ee's. I will drive several hours just to go to Buc-ee's.
Who wouldn't?
Hate 7-Eleven though. Anyway, so Nancy does not go to any of these places, and that's how we're gonna say we were not off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. On top of that, I believe it was either Congressman Chip Roy or it might have been Dan Crenshaw who was talking about going back in session to pass any legislation that could possibly help. And they're being blocked by Nancy Pelosi and several other Democrats. What did y'all think about that?
I mean, it just doesn't surprise me. I mean, Rahm Emanuel never let a good crisis go to waste. We should really just put that out on a piece of paper and make it all of our backdrops so that people don't forget, because I don't think we can reiterate that enough. I mean, it's just the epitome of the thing. They're like, oh my God, everybody's suffering. Let's use this. Let's put a bunch of pork in the stimulus bill. Let's get these solar and wind tax credits while we're at it. Let's edit these airplane emissions because that's going to help COVID. It just shows. I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and as much as I don't like taxes, I recognize that this is an emergency situation and the American people they need help. I mean, we can't get through this without at least coming together a little bit and trying to help. But when you throw all that pork in, like the money to the Kennedy Center and things like that, it's ridiculous.
And then you have AOC, celebrating the oil workers are losing their jobs. And then she deletes the tweet. Why do you? Okay, if you're a politician, in my opinion, this might be unpopular. You should not be deleting your tweets because it reflects on that you're not confident in what you were saying. Why would I tweet out something if I'm not confident in that statement?
I feel like it should be something like where you can't block people from your Twitter because it is a public platform used to communicate with your people. I feel like it's something that they shouldn't be able to strike things from that record either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was Well, that was like made it into court where like they can't they can't block. I think from their official government
They sued Trump
pages.
so that they can't, from those pages, they can't block people. I believe that that's because it's public record where they can't block people and it's used to contact the public. They should not be able to strike things from that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my opinion on that.
So we had on Alex, the I forgot her last name, the college Democrat. If you haven't checked out that interview, I would recommend that you check out Spotify, our YouTube, our Facebook, all of our platforms to listen to that interview because it was really interesting.
Apple Podcasts too.
Apple Podcasts as well, yes, because it was really interesting to hear her perspective on the DNC, and I kind of wish that we had gotten her perspective on Nancy Pelosi, but. You know, Kelly, what do you think? Kelly knows her better than any of us. Kelly actually brought up the idea. None of us know her. And so, Kelly, what do you think after her tweet to your YCT account and after just all the stuff that she's doing, how do you think she feels about Nancy, what she's doing, Biden, just all this stuff in the last week? Because every week seems to be getting worse than the last.
I know she doesn't like Biden because she's not really liberal. She's just left. Like, she's just so far left. I don't think, like, if Biden was in his right mind and he hadn't had people accusing him of being, like, a rapist, I still don't think she would like him because he's not really moderate, but he's more moderate than what she likes. I honestly don't know how she feels about Nancy Pelosi. I've never heard her talk about her. I would assume that she's not her favorite just because, I don't know, this just doesn't seem like her kind of person, but I don't know. That's just a guess. She's never talked about her.
Yeah, and I asked Kelly that because, I mean, you know, we are all kind of biased because we're all conservatives. So when we talk about Nancy and all this, obviously we're going to be a little angry just because we don't agree with her in the first place on her core beliefs, and we don't like all this corruption stuff. So, you know, it's an interesting question to ask. Okay, what are her supporters thinking right now, if she even has any left? You know, San Francisco is an armpit. Why are we... You know, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting anywhere with this, but why do they keep reelecting this person that lives with so many benefits of being the Speaker of the House?
It's extremely hard to get any establishment out of office. Like we saw that here. We saw that here. You know, their campaigns, their races, congressional races in Texas, where we were trying to replace rhinos with conservatives, and it's hard to do that on either side, whether it's the Democrat establishment or the Republican establishment. I mean,
yeah, and that's a good point that we all tend to forget. You know, Nancy's been in there for a long time in the same district, so at a certain point, the people just kind of lose hope.
And I mean, we do see that same thing in other areas, like we saw with Kay Granger in Tarrant County. She was primary challenged, and you know, I mean, I'm from Tarrant County originally, and most people in that area do not agree with the ideas that she upholds. But because her name is kind of familiar and they don't know the other guy on the ballot, they vote for her.
Yeah, and you know, I helped, a lot of us helped with that campaign, and we all thought, okay, yeah, there's no way that Kay Granger wins, because every single house that we would go to, people would, you know, we'd say, you know, she's been in there for about 20 years. You know this, you know that. You know what's been going on with, you know, this island and all the money that her son has made off of this. And they're all, oh, no, I'm not going to vote for her. I'm not going to vote for her. And then she won by, 13 points. So, I mean, and, you know, we wonder, okay, why are we talking about Texas primary races? Well, it's because a lot of this is due to just the establishment, Biden, Pelosi, and it's not just on one side. These problems are on the right, too. And, you know, Pelosi was on camera. She was caught on camera is the problem. But there are a lot of politicians that put the same pork, have the same issues, have the same where their constituents are relying on them, and they're doing late night talk shows. And Nancy Pelosi just got exposed. But there are plenty of other establishment politicians that are in the same boat.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, personally, I have more respect for someone that, you know, runs on what they believe, rather, even if I totally disagree with it, but I have more respect for someone that runs on what they believe and is willing to challenge the status quo than I do someone that's just been rotting away in Washington, D.C. for, you know, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi's been in office for probably more than 20 or 25 years, but someone that's been there for decades and has just accumulated all this power. It's just, yeah, it's time for her to get out of office. It'd be great if a Republican could beat her, but I don't think that's going to happen in like San Francisco. Or
it's San Francisco, California.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, well, I think that sums up our thoughts on this topic. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and share with all your friends. Thank you for tuning in.
If you like this content, please like, subscribe, share it. If you hated it, like, subscribe, and share it. Thanks for tuning in.